Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's virtual conference with Our Hometown. Thank you all so much for joining me. My name is Matt Larson. I'm the president and CEO of Our Hometown. And today we're going to be talking about getting started with video. This is a really exciting topic. A lot of our customers are doing really creative things, getting into the video space as newspapers and just expanding their reach that way and just reaching their audience in a new multimedia format. So that's what this conference today is about. And it looks like we've got almost all of our attendees logged in here. But I'd like to just get some quick feedback here. If you all could locate the questions area and just make sure, type a question in there, or if you could just, put your name in, say hello, and just make sure that, I just want to make sure you can all hear me and see my screen okay. It should say getting started with video. Awesome. Thank you so much, Vera, Oliver. Awesome. Okay, so that's all that I need. Let's dig right into it here. We've got two special guests on with us today. I'm really excited to talk to these two people. They are doing some really creative things with video, and we're going to go through them one at a time. First of all, I want to introduce Mark Healey, the editor-in-chief of The Wave. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
All right. Good to have you, Mark. Thank you so much. And then also on with us, calling in from Texas at the Wilson County News, she's the Director of Operations, Kristen Weaver. Welcome, Kristen.
Hi, glad to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time, both of you. Again, we've had other virtual conferences with both of you and talking about things that you're doing at your papers and just constantly innovating there. So always good to have you join us. And so let's just jump right into it here. In the next 30 to 45 minutes, that's usually how long these conferences run, we're going to talk to Wilson County News on her program with Facebook Live and audio articles. We're going to talk to Mark about his program, Rockaway Fridays with The Wave on YouTube. And if you haven't already, this is just, I put this in the slideshow so I don't forget, if you could actually, everyone, type your name and the name of your newspaper into the questions area now. A lot of you have already said hello, so I know that you know where the box is, and that's great. But I'd like to learn a little bit more about all of the attendees. And also, if you have it, some baseline, how often do you create content on your paper's website? Or how often do you create content that's video for any social media? Is it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, or kind of rarely? I'd just be interested to see where we're at baseline here, because again, this conference is about getting started in video. So I don't expect anyone to be doing much right now, but we're going to just talk about some really concrete programs that these two people are running at their papers. So I want to start off with just a elevator pitch for both of you to set the stage a little bit. So Kristen, let's start with you. Can you describe your program with Facebook Live and audio articles for us?
Sure. So we do Facebook Live once a week, Thursdays at 10 a.m., and we invite different members of the community. It could be organization type members or business community members, and we try to schedule them in. We have like an interview. We really call it a casual conversation, and we do have a sponsor for the program. And we incorporate it along with our audio articles.
Excellent. So really creative sponsorship opportunity, just all digital, a lot of things to unpack with that. And we're going to get to it in a minute. And I'll show you all some examples of what she's doing on Facebook. Mark, tell us a little bit about Rockaway Fridays with The Wave. What are your goals there, and what does that program look like?
Well, the goal is we started, I started podcasting when it was called internet radio back in 2005. Right. And, so the podcast, we've been doing a Riding the Wave podcast since 2014 here at The Wave. And the video, the Fridays with The Wave, is really the natural evolution of that podcast. And, we once the new publisher, Walter Sanchez, took over the paper, he talked about wanting to do video. And since I was already doing a podcast, I felt that, it was going to be natural to do that. But we really wanted to wait until we had a better sense of how we could use it. So how we use it is Fridays with the Wave, Rockaway Fridays with the Wave, is really our way right now during this pandemic to get some FaceTime with our readers, FaceTime with our community, so that they get a sense of what we're up to and what we're doing. And we're just touching. I mean, it's perfect because getting started with video, that's what we're doing. We're getting started with it. Right. And, the tough part for us is, getting it done. But our hometown, you guys have been great with helping us get this off the ground. And I've watched Kristen on Facebook Live, and I really like how they do it too. So I'm getting a lot of ideas as we move forward.
That's exactly what this conference is all about, for you two to share ideas and all of our attendees to share some as well. I just want to take a quick break here and look at the comments, because it's all about the comments with these virtual conferences. These really make or break them, in my opinion. So we've got a lot of activity over here. Looks like Oliver is currently doing video daily, which is great. I'd love to learn more about your paper. You're up in Montreal, okay, the suburban newspaper. I'll check that out after the conference. Love to see how you're doing that and what kind of videos that you're doing. We also have Brent from The Reporter, one of our customers, and I know he does a ton with Facebook Live. He does these sports casts at the football games, checking in even when he's at the office, just like a selfie video. So we're probably going to do a follow-up on this conference with, dedicated to live video, and we'll definitely want to talk to Brent in detail at that point. The weekly reporter warm-up. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, the comments are rolling in here. So before we dig into Kristen's program, I just want to address these. From Cooperstown, New York, Tara, never using video. Okay, perfect place to be, getting here to learn about some quick ways to get started. Okay, the comments section. Glenn, you can, actually, there isn't really a comment section, just so you know. It's just a questions area. So I'll be able to answer your comments and read them out loud. That's the only option for GoToWebinar. Okay. Let's keep moving. I'm going to just keep watching your questions as they come in, and I may circle back because they're coming in very quickly. We may have to go back and answer some older ones in a minute. But let's talk about Wilson County News, her Facebook Live program. She gave us a great elevator pitch, and that's kind of like, I guess, your pitch to advertisers, what you just gave us there. But let's actually close this screen, and I'm going to bring up some examples, and maybe you can kind of walk us through what's going on here. So I'm going to move this screen over. Okay, so hopefully, can you all see Facebook now on my screen?
I do.
Yep.
Okay, great. Just want to double check on that. So walk us through this setup here, because I've seen this evolve over the last few months here. You've moved things around, moved the camera. You got some different things going on in the background. So just go ahead and tell us what's the setup here.
Well, so we've, like you said, evolved with some different setups. We started even without a sponsor. We've dabbled with Facebook Live in the past, say about 2016, 17, that era, and we've really hit the right product, I think, now in 2020. So kind of along the lines of when the pandemic hit, we thought, well, this is a great way to reach an audience, engage with the community, both our business community and the community at large. So we started off that way, filming it with our cell phones on a tripod. We found, so the problems I'd say we ran into were selfie mode was one, and trying to recognize our sponsor or even ourselves. We have built this based on the feedback from community, which was first like, you need to get a sponsor. And also like Matt with Our Hometown giving us some great guidance, feedback along the way, and really just the community members and our team here. So the selfie mode thing was driving me crazy because I really like, if we're gonna, I know we could do some of these things. So I found free software. It's called OBS. It's an open source, and it was great. I was able to put it on my Mac laptop with some updates to my operating system. It's been a wonderful feature. What I also like about using this software is it improved our sound quality without having to go further, and I think, you know, eventually we can improve on some of the other quality aspects, but like, you know, we've talked about maybe getting a microphone and playing with some other things. Right. It is helpful that this has been able to grow with the help of my daughter. She is a new graduate from high school and new in college, but you know, this generation, she's been a wonderful asset, and it's been nice because we've been able to build on her having a little time to be able to just take what she already knows, grow from it. I mean, we're just growing all together, but I take the skills I've you know, learned along the way over these years, and it's just helpful to have, because, you know, we're so involved with all the daily tasks, the task of our publications and everything. I'd say that's also one of the greatest challenges is the time to set aside for it. But when you know you've got somebody who is thinking about that, that's their baby, that's their project, and you're able to delegate the time that way, really makes this much more successful. And then once you have a sponsor, everything else just kind of falls in line. Like, well, now this is a new deadline. You know, we're meeting it every week, and it's happening. So,
right.
So here we are.
That's interesting.
Yeah, also, I would like to mention that we were able to put this together with our audio article feature. Right. That was something new within this last year that we wanted to jump on using as soon as Our Hometown offered that. Right. It just makes all the sense in the world. But we were struggling to find a sponsor, so it made sense to team these two functions up together. Okay. And just, you know, feel good about having all these features, and having the sponsorship to go along with it, and giving them the greater visibility, and just kind of like a creative, you know, they're getting such a more expanded visibility. It's not just Facebook Live. The other things we do to help we like to try to marry all of our things together as much as possible, or cross promote, you know, between all the platforms. So whatever we're doing live, we're repeating that information and sharing it through all of we have different email newsletters. We are putting it in print. We're incorporating it and just trying to tie it together as much as possible across all of our different features and platforms. So
beautiful. Yeah, this is something that we talk about a lot, trying to package the sponsorship opportunities in a way that's only possible at the newspaper. You know, and it's a great way to compete with the digital-only platforms like Facebook, you know, because they can go to Facebook, but then all they get is Facebook. If you go to Wilson County, you get Facebook, the website, the print edition. There's just such a broad canvas there for them to get their message out on. So let's break this down a little bit. I'm going to start with audio articles, and then I want to go back to the Facebook Live feed. So this is the advertiser is mentioned in the audio article at the very beginning, and this is a feature that is available to all Our Hometown customers that will automatically transcribe all your text articles into these mini podcasts. And we're going to talk a lot more about this in our next virtual conference on getting started in audio podcasting. But I'm just going to play this, so hopefully you all can hear it clearly. It's going to read the advertiser message, then the headline, and then the body. And we'll just listen to the first sentence of the body here.
Audio articles on Wilson County News made possible by White Lightning Liquor. Historical Society opens October 20th meeting to the public. The Wilson County Historical Society is planning a special monthly meeting on Tuesday, October 20th at 7 p.m. to start off the fiscal year, and invites not only members and guests, but also the general public.
So this is super cool. I mean, I'm just so excited by this tool because it's totally automated. It sounds very realistic, although that is a machine reading that whole article. It's got a little bit of intelligence to it because it read off the whole, October instead of just Oct. It's not just a dumb transcriber, but it's, we've got Amazon Web Services is one of the tools that we use to power it, and they've got all kinds of machine learning, artificial intelligence stuff that they use. And so then the white lightning liquor, they get their message out there. And the thing I like about this is that they're clearly engaged. The listener, the audience is engaged. They just hit play. So there's not really any way for them to not, listen to this, like they hit play to listen. So it's just different from any other type of sponsorship that you would have anywhere on the website or anywhere on the web in general. Okay, so anything else you want to add before we switch back to Facebook, Kristen?
I don't think so.
Pretty straightforward. Again, we'll talk about this in a lot more detail. We've got some publishers that are creating full-length podcasts of their whole editions. So they just put these audio articles back to back in a single file. So we'll check that out in the next virtual conference. But for this one, I just want to point out a couple things. Again, this is the software, right? OBS Studio. Yes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you can just Google OBS, open source is what I looked up, but obsproject.com. And then that is what is allowing you to run this banner ad at the bottom, right?
Right.
Okay. Because Facebook Live doesn't give you that option. It's not really that sophisticated. So you design this graphic and you change it based on the sponsor. Do they usually sponsor for a month at a time, or how do you sell this usually?
Yeah, we try to do 4 weeks at a time.
Okay, great.
Like you would typically try to lock someone in a bit longer. Right. And it gives other businesses the opportunity then too, gives them a break on their budgets. I've seen it doing this the past several months, how it works for the sponsors.
Awesome.
It's been good for them. And so, you would just create something in Photoshop. Boy, you learn a lot by just Googling stuff and kind of playing with it. And I think it gave me some specifications as far as dimension. Somewhere I figured that out. And in order to have that transparency, you save that file as a PNG. And that's what allows it to have the transparent effect. Pretty smooth, pretty simple.
Yep.
Made all the difference.
And that looks incredibly professional. But I would just comment that, this conference is about getting started. And as you said, this was a work in progress. This is like your final form. But, maybe one way to get started that would be even easier is to just mention the advertiser as you're talking. That's an idea. And just promise them that you're going to mention them or link to their website in the feed, after the fact.
Definitely,
like
and that's exactly how we started. I'd also like to mention that the live videos, in addition to, we've actually done several other things outside of our weekly live that it's sort of been spurred on by the community and the need. Over the weekend, we had our annual peanut festival that had to be changed and made a little bit different this year because of the coronavirus. So they did it more mini style. They asked us to live stream the video. And so Julia and I went out there on the weekend and we set up 2 cameras. I'm so glad we did. We were using a cell phone like we typically would, but because we were working off of Wi-Fi, it turns out. So I had my other camera on standby videoing like we would typically our meetings.
Right.
Sure enough, the quality got affected by that Wi-Fi connection. There was something that interrupted it. And so we were able to go and put the YouTube video on for better quality. That's one example. And then Tuesday night, boy, it's been busy. Tuesday night, we had a local candidates forum. And
I saw that. That was awesome.
Was amazing. Just, this is giving me goosebumps, but the connections that we're making are remarkable. And we were able to use our software on that one, which I loved doing. And it turned out to be a really great live stream.
Awesome. Yeah. I would love to circle back and maybe take a look at that towards the end of the conference today. We can look at some other specific examples of the videos that you've been doing, because it seems like in the comments here, people are saying that you know, a lot of them do weekly recaps of events. People are doing just kind of sporadic video. Let's see, Carrie is saying she's at northcentralpa.com. They create weekly video content and regularly live stream on Facebook. So a lot of people are already doing this, but they may not be monetizing it yet in the way you are. So I think that's, if you can package it with anything else that you have on the website or in print, then it just becomes that much more compelling. And this is like a premium sponsorship, only one advertiser in here at a time. So, you know, there's a lot of value to that too. Now we got a question from Tara for Kristen. How do they cross promote Facebook Live with their website and newspaper? So how do you cross promote? Are you, I mean, can you speak to that any more than what you've already said?
Yes. Well, I'm an advocate for print and all the things that we do. So I think it's very important that you cross promote on anything you're doing, because right now our audiences are you have a very broad audience, and it's spelled out over many platforms. So you're probably talking email newsletters, you're talking social media, print, website, anything that you're doing, you need to try to always cross promote on all of those things. So we came up with a standard ad that we run in our newspaper with, also we're doing a comment contest. So to help build some engagement there and get people to comment, to watch for it every week and come back to it. But I think it's important to have that ad in the newspaper. I try to grab a screenshot from the previous video and kind of give a little summary. We also include that information in another email newsletter that we send out, just regurgitating the information as much as possible, as much as you can think of, that you can put it into, I guess, a system that works for you, so that, you know, it's so easy to, oh yeah, you put it out there and then you forget to do a task. But, you know, I find that you have to schedule things in and just come up with a plan like you would for an advertiser. Right.
Beautiful. And okay, so we've gotten this question twice now. Brent is asking, and so did Tara in her original question. Can you give us some guidance on how you think about pricing this particular ad unit?
You know, I can't remember. Well, do you want to know what we charge? Would that be?
If you're willing to share, I think they'd love to hear just a baseline number. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. God, what did we? I want to say, actually, I think I have something right here. I kind of just tried to base it on things. Okay, yeah, this is right. $100 a week.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And I don't know where I came up with that, but just watching so many different webinars on different topics over the course of time that talks about, you know, maybe gauging it by audience, by maybe per 1,000 or per 100, what, you know, you got to kind of start somewhere, and what feels right to you and your advertiser base. You know what businesses are comfortable with, because it's about helping them too, being able to afford something. So you can sort of play with it and go from there. Always start with an introductory too. You can always call it that. You got to start somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's exactly what I would say. Is you got to start somewhere. Just to give people an idea of the size of the Wilson County News, their audience on Facebook is over 16,000 likes. So that's a pretty good penetration for sure. That's a fantastic audience. So I think that was Tara asked that. And now, before we bounce over to Mark, and we can always come back to Kristen, and I'd like to do that towards the end, but it looks like, I just want to point out what you said earlier. To drive engagement, you are giving away something every week to one person, like you draw out of a hat, right? One person that commented on the last video.
Right.
Okay. And that is huge. So you mentioned that in the beginning. Hey, leave a comment, say hello, ask a question, and you'll be entered into the drawing for next week's giveaway, which is something usually from your the store that you guys have at the office there, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Let me just shift gears here a little bit. Thank you so much, Kristen. I appreciate all that. Definitely stick around if you can to hear Mark's story and answer any questions that come up on Facebook Live. Now, let's shift over to Mark and talk about Fridays with the Wave. Again, you gave us the overview, so I'm going to pull this up and show the video from last week. But you know what?
Good morning, everybody, and welcome
We
to
actually,
Fridays with the Wave.
this is how you were doing it last week, right? So tell us a little bit about your setup and your production process. I think that would probably be a good place to start.
Okay, like so when I came to the Wave in 2014, it was strictly a print product. You know, there was a Facebook page that was I had to start from scratch. Twitter, I had to start from scratch. You know, Instagram started from scratch. So, you know, there was a lot. It was just a print product, right? So having a radio background, a TV background, having worked, you know, in all these different mediums, I felt that the Wave, given the way Rockaway is as a community, I felt like all of these different channels, you know, would lend itself to the audience. You know, it would help us send our message to an even bigger audience. Right. And you always want to have diversity in the delivery of your news. And it's not just, you know, the different kinds of stories or, you know, having a, you know, staff of reporters that have different skills. It's also about giving people a chance to not just read, but to listen and to watch, you know, so that people can experience, because everybody experiences their news in different ways, right? So having, as I mentioned before, having podcasted for a long time, you know, I didn't really think about video that much, to be honest with you, because as someone who's been on the camera, I didn't really know anything about being behind the camera. You know what I'm saying? I had no idea of, and you know, I was always the host. You know, I was never the producer. Like when I went to communication school and broadcasting school, you know, my grades were very forgiving. Let's put it that way. I was not the guy. I mean, I have done it in my life, you know, like cutting up tape and doing different audio cuts and things like that. But I was not the person that they wanted doing that. You know, they wanted me in front of the camera or behind the microphone. Right. So that when we decided to start to do video, you know, I really let other people do it. So if we hired someone that had a video background, if you go to our YouTube page, you know, you can see all the different kinds of videos that we do. We do news reports. We do, you know, we've done some Facebook Live. We've done some, you know, whatever the person was comfortable with. You know, we let the person do that. Some people just did Instagram video. Some people did, you know, stuff on Twitter. So, you know, there wasn't really a one way, this is what we're going to do. Right. Now, for those of you who are not in the New York metro area, there's a show, there's a network called New York One, and it does, you know, local New York City news. And they have a segment every day called In the Papers, and Pat Kiernan is the guy that does it. So I always enjoyed, when I had New York One, I always enjoyed watching that because I'm a newspaper guy and, you know, I like newspapers. So I don't know, about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I was like, look, you know, it would be cool to have a dedicated segment on Fridays, you know, to talk about the paper. That would be cool because it's only one paper. It's our paper. And Fridays, when we, you know, our paper comes out on Friday. So we're in a community where people get up early on a Friday. They go get their coffee and their bagel and they get the paper. You know, that's what people do. So I thought it would be fun to share that whole coffee and a paper, Good Morning Friday, and that kind of evolved into the whole Rockaway Fridays with the Wave. For sure. And you definitely achieved that personal, you know, making that human connection with your subscribers and your readers just by having this FaceTime. Terry made a comment that she loves this background. We didn't have this today, but
tens of thousands of potential customers in Rockaway. Just having that message right there, I think, is very powerful. Now,
we had an event last night, and we had it at the event, and I don't know if they forgot to bring it back or we didn't set it up. I don't know what happened.
It's one of those portable pop-ups. Yeah, I know about that. All right. Well, so we had a preview of what Kristen's doing and had that video playing. I want to play a little bit of this so you all can get a sense of the vibe that Mark puts out there. So this is a video that we actually did today, and we're trying something new with Mark. We actually recorded this on GoToWebinar, which is a new platform, and it allowed him to share his screen, which isn't normally part of his episodes. So let's just start it from the very beginning here. Check this out.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Rockaway Fridays with a Wave. I'm Mark Healey. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Wave, the Rockaway's newspaper since 1893, and it's Friday. So what do we do on Friday in Rockaway? Well, the first thing we do is we got to have coffee, because without coffee, we cannot exist. Or even get through the day, because it's a big day Friday. It's a big day in Rockaway. Everybody's getting ready for the weekend. But it's also a big day because the Wave comes out, right? Every Friday, the Wave comes out. That's how people have been spending their Fridays in Rockaway, for the last 127 years. So it's...
Okay, I just want to point out a couple things there. Holding up that print edition, something tangible, promoting the print product, I think, is very valuable, even though you're in this totally virtual digital space. Having that to just show at the beginning is great. I know that a big part of your campaign right now, your marketing, is to emphasize the fact that you're the oldest paper in Rockaway. So you mentioned that right up front, and we've got that right on the logo. And that's going to be a big part of the Wave's marketing going forward. And then what we do later, let's see if I can just skip ahead to where you transition. Because we're on GoToWebinar, you can now share your screen. And so that allows people to see the paper a little bit more clearly than holding up a print edition. So let's just switch to that section in here, Mark. Show the front page.
This week, we're going to try something else. We're going to try something a little different. So bear with me. It's a new thing that we're doing. And it really what it is that we want you to be able to see just how wonderful this front page is this week. Obviously, we did a lot of work like we do every week. Our team, Paula DeGioia, who's our designer, Allison Case, who is our digital editor, and Ray Van, who is our community editor, along with our team of reporters and salespeople and support people in the office. Every week we put together this puzzle, and it's not just the elements of the front page. It's not just the elements of the stories. It's where the advertisers fit into the paper, where we can show our support of the people that have supported us, especially through this pandemic. And that's a big part of what we do, right? So this week we decided to go with All Hail the Monarch, Tom Burke's story, and John Reinhardt, local resident John Reinhardt, who has been in real estate forever. He's been one of our friends and neighbors for a long time, and he just took these beautiful pictures of monarch butterflies, as you can see.
So, Mark, is that an advertiser that you just mentioned? You said he's in real estate, or no?
No, he's not currently, okay. But he is. He eventually, hopefully, will be. John was a guy that ran his family real estate business for like 30 years. And then I guess about a year ago, he went out on his own, and he's working with I think it's called APX Real Estate. And but he's a great guy, and we've talked about him advertising with us. But he's just one of those people in the neighborhood that we look to. He's somebody that gives us advice, and he's a great photographer.
He's a photographer. So, yeah.
Whenever he takes something, I always, call him up. I'm like, hey, John, great photo. Can we use it for the paper? And,
right.
So he's a great guy, and we love having him, and we really wanted this front page, because when I saw the picture, I was like, oh my God, it's like perfect.
Right. Yeah, no, it's an absolutely beautiful picture. And what I like about this is that you're showcasing the print edition, the e-edition, and you're promoting the website all at the same time because we've got, the URL right up at the top. So this is kind of something that you're just starting to dabble in with the screen sharing. But I just love this format because it's really clear. You can zoom in on the paper. And what you did later in this episode, let's see. I could skip ahead here. You zoom back in, and then you basically went line by line. I mean, practically page by page, not every single page, but you would stop at certain sections and have it on the screen, and then talk about what was in
Right.
this week's addition to that.
Well, the idea is, the majority of our audience is print. I mean, people have been reading the Wave forever, right? So, but sometimes they only read certain things, So this segment not only tells people or lets people know that there's other stuff in the paper other than the obits or the happenings page,
Right.
or whatever it is that they read. Some people just some people just go to the sports page. Some people just go to whatever.
Right.
And it kind of is a reminder that there's other stuff in the paper. But it's also, for me, some people are content sometimes to just read things on their phone, or read things, and we have a paywall, so, you have to be a digital subscriber. It's leaky, so you can, get a certain amount of reads for the month.
Right.
But, and we want people to be digital subscribers, certainly. But the print is, I'm a newspaper guy, even though I've worked in other genres, I love holding the newspaper. And we spend a lot of time creating the Wave. It's not like an assembly line type of, there are places that put together papers and, they do it because they want the print advertising, and I get it. But we spend a lot of money on art. We spend a lot of money on creative. And, so we're really proud of that paper that we put out every week. So
Right.
I want people to pick it up. It's 50 cents. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee. And, you want people to experience it. And I really wanted this segment to be something that celebrates our print edition while at the same time, as you said, highlighting our digital platforms.
For sure. Really, really good point. Now, I'm just scrubbing through here and showing how you were zoomed in on all these different sections, the wave makers, and this was like our first time doing it. And I think that at the end you said next time I might want to end with the wave makers or something like that. But this is the cool thing about it is it's okay to have it as a work in progress, and your audience is going to understand that it's an evolving thing. So
and I think it's really important, Matt, and I know Kristen can attest to this. You can't be afraid to make mistakes, because look, none of us are in the TV production business, and I mean, Kristen seems like she's a lot more competent than I am, certainly in trying to figure things out from a technological standpoint. You have to try, you have to, if we're doing everything by rote, then we're in the wrong business. If you understand media, you understand that it's evolving daily. People are consuming their news differently, as we saw with Twitter and Facebook. Blocking that Post's, New York Post story. Tech giants now are getting involved in controlling, and some people say censoring news that may not be what they want to hear or what they want to read. So it's up to us, the people that are real journalists, that are giving the community trust to do our jobs, accuracy above all, get it right before you get it first, and all those things that sound like cliches. But I mean, I don't want to speak for Kristen. I'm sure she believes that as well as I do. We have a responsibility. And that means that you can't just be, well, if it's not in the paper, it doesn't exist. You have to use whatever platform that you have at your disposal, even if you're not familiar with using it, even if you're not going to be completely comfortable. Your audience understands that, so they understand if you're doing live video and somebody spills a cup of coffee, they understand it. They just want to get the information. And when they feel comfortable with you, I think it's so important for us to never rest on just one thing. Right. You have to evolve, you have to adapt, you have to overcome. And I think that's really the lesson. Some people might be like, oh, my God, video, I wouldn't even know the first thing. Trust me, I am. What did I say before? Never give the monkey the nail gun. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm one of those people. The nail gun, I respect it. I totally respect it. I am not allowed to use them because I would shoot myself in the face. So, the idea is, don't be afraid of video. Don't be afraid of Twitter. Don't be afraid of Facebook Live, even though you can't control what's going on and you can't edit it. You just got to embrace like the rawness of it and just hope that the more that you do it, it's like muscle memory, that you'll figure it out, and that you'll get it and you'll get it right, and I think that is really, what's important.
Great points. Yeah. And I want to circle back a little bit to that idea of not being afraid and of the live experience, and just a little bit more about your production techniques, both of you. But this is actually a great question here from Tara. Is the Rockaway Friday Live accessible throughout the week? How do you remind people it's going live? And this is a great point about YouTube. So first of all, I don't know if I made it clear. The only place that this is being posted is on YouTube. And then we embed, you guys embed the YouTube video on social media, on Facebook and on the website, possibly. Right. I'm not sure if you do that every week, but it's on YouTube. So it's available 24/7, the old edition. It's not being taken down. And none of this is behind a paywall of any kind.
No, it's not. It's not. It's we're gonna look there. And again, just like the performance and the production of the segments are constantly evolving, we're not quite. And it's very impressive, by the way, Kristen, that you've been able to monetize your video. We're not quite there yet. Our price points are similar. We've been able to monetize our newsletters, which Allison Case, our digital editor, has been working with Matt and his company, and we've been working with, we've been doing a lot of stuff digitally. We haven't yet figured out a way to monetize the podcast, monetize the video, but I'm more focused on getting it out there, getting the content ready. And I think it's great that, you've been able to monetize that. It's very impressive. But for us, it's the get the content, get it ready, and then distribute it, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Facebook. And the thing about Fridays with the Wave, you can play it all weekend. You can refer to it all weekend. You can remind people all weekend. And we kind of focus on different, like I have 4 or 5 bullet points that I went through today. And then, if somebody didn't get the paper on a Friday, sometimes people pick it up on Friday. They don't read it till Saturday, or Sunday, even for that matter. And that's why it's important for us to make sure that we have stories that if they evolve, they can go to the website to see if there's been an update. We do that. There was back in the day, before the Wave did these things, it was like if it was in the paper, that was it. They didn't go and update the story after the fact. There was a lot of weird things that happened before I got here. So I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to now is that even though we do it and we call it Rockaway Fridays with the Wave, the idea is that they can refer to it, and even like the next week on a Thursday, a lot of the stuff we do is evergreen too, like Wave Makers. Wave Makers is something that we came up with about 1.5 years ago to highlight people in the neighborhood, So that's always fresh content, So and a lot of the stuff in the paper, there's history, there's
Yeah.
like the looking back.
Yeah.
There's a curated column that goes back 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years.
Right.
And, you can talk about that whenever, it doesn't really matter. So,
Right.
it's trying to identify the things that people are watching. It's trying to identify the things that people are reading and want to interact with. So, distributing it is very easy. It's just a matter of, like today, because we did something new, I wasn't able to distribute it before I sat down for this webinar. I didn't want to be late. I'm a deadline guy. So, normally we would have it out by noon, so that people can, see it and be reminded if they didn't get the paper yet. When you go out for lunch, now you got to go get the paper.
Right.
People will stop by the office and pick up the paper, because we're in a great foot traffic spot.
Right.
So that's really the very long answer to that question.
No, that's a good one. Yeah. So basically you're saying it's a combination of the technology being universally available. There's no time limit on it. YouTube also has alerts. So if anyone, like for example, I follow the Wave YouTube page, so I get an alert when you post new videos. So that's a notifications thing built into the tech. Now with Wilson County, it's the exact same thing, right, Kristen? If you follow your Facebook page and you have notifications enabled, every time you go live, a notification goes out to all those people that you're live right now.
Yes.
Okay. And so that's a great way, to look at it. So like every one of these 16,000 people could potentially be getting this notification. Not everyone has Facebook notifications on, so that's part of it, or maybe they don't have the app on their phone, but I think most people do now. And so you can kind of build the audience, like get this out there, this video, ask them to follow your Facebook page in the video, because then when you do the council interviews, or when you do the live event, the parade, they're getting drawn into your world, like in this virtual way. It's a way to pull them in. Now let's see here. I have a question. So I also just want to talk about. So Mark, you mentioned that you put the video out on Friday, but then another way that you could manually promote this over and over is, like, you could put the video on YouTube Friday and then send the video out in a newsletter on Monday.
Right, which we've done that. Yeah, we've done that.
Right. So it's kind of like these multiple waves through the different channels to promote it to different audiences too, because you may have their newsletter, their email on your newsletter list. They're not a follower.
Matt, absolutely. I've been preaching that since I came to the Wave. Of like, folks, like I said, they were very print only. I said, folks, you have about 5 different readerships for the Wave. Now, like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you have a print readership. Obviously, that's a big readership. That's where you make your money from the print advertising. I said, but you also have an internet readership. You have people who just read the posts on Facebook. You have people that just connect to it, on their phone. You have people who just connect to. The Wave is one of those papers that people in the industry read too. And that's where the Twitter traffic comes from. People like, sometimes they do it just so they could steal the story. Somebody from like one of the TV news crews will see one of our stories, and then they'll send a crew to do their own version without giving us any credit, but that's okay. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
But, we have industry people that follow us. We have, so you have so many different readerships.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you have to serve them all, that you have to overthink it and be like, oh, this will be a Twitter story. You can do that, but you'll drive yourself insane. The idea is to create a product one way that is accessible enough and versatile enough that you can distribute it on multiple channels, and still everyone gets the same amount of information, engagement, and entertainment, if it's appropriate, from that distribution.
Right.
That's the key in my mind.
Right. Excellent. Terry mentions that she thinks that this is the time, and I agree with this, to try, and the atmosphere, to try this stuff, because people are very forgiving. Most brands are not doing video, so this is a great way to stand out and set yourself apart as an innovative publication, kind of more almost like newspaper TV kind of hybrid. In the future, people may expect more. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about, so like Mark, you pre-record your videos, and this is like a fundamental production divide here. And please, everyone, get your questions in now, because we're going to wrap it up in the next 10 minutes. So if you haven't asked a question, drop it now so we can answer it. But the difference between pre-recorded and live, Kristen, it's like there's no outtakes, there's no going back and fixing errors. But I think the biggest benefit of live is that it's just not going to take you. There's no way to make it consume your time with the post-production process, because you're done. It's out there and it's published, right?
Yeah, we benefit from that, I think.
Right. You guys are very busy, and on Thursdays, it's a very busy day for you, but you always, and I think that is the key to making it consistent. That's at least my view, right? Because like when I do these webinars, I'm not going to spend a lot of time editing it after, because I send it off to Steven, our video editor, and he takes care of it. And that allows me to keep pumping these things out without, holding back, because it's like, I haven't edited the last 5 videos yet. I don't want to make a new one, So I think that's a great benefit of the live environment. Also, the real-time interaction is the other thing. So you get comments, and this video was a very popular video. Let's just talk about this, because this is different from your Facebook Live. This was the Floresville City Council Candidates Forum. So this is something that would normally happen in person. No one would bother to record it in the past, but in a weird way, the pandemic has created this opportunity for you. Yeah. And, everyone's at home now. So anything you want to comment on about this particular video, or do you have any plans to do more things like this, or anything like that?
We have done live candidates forums in the past, in sense of live as being in person, and we would usually video them and then to upload on YouTube later. This I can't believe how easily this one was pulled together, Cool. And unfortunately, we did not have all of our candidates, be present, which is pretty typical when we put these together. You never get 100% of everyone participating. Right. We were really proud of our councilmen who did show up. We felt everybody lucked out that even though they were nervous, they did a really good job. It just was such a natural thing. That's what I can't get over. How easily it flowed. And we even pulled the graphic together very last minute, because I'm like, come on, people, what am I supposed to put on this? And, we're standing over 10 minutes to go. And I'm like, okay, quickly trying to add his name and that one and another color. And how does this look? Okay, so,
This is cool. It looks like something you would literally see on TV. You got the names right under the actual candidates.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's very professional. I have to check that out. That's really cool. I like that a lot.
It fell together. Fell together.
Love it. When you go and vote, now it's like Paul Sack. Okay, the guy in the middle on that video in the blue shirt. Okay, I remember him. And a great way to connect personally with these candidates. I love that. Okay, I want to also.
You know what, Matt? I just want to say, what I like about it, Kristen, and what I like about, because we've done stuff sometimes with video, but the thing is that every vote is important. Every single vote, whether it's local, whether it's national, whether it's state. Yeah. And if people aren't going to educate themselves on the candidates that they're going to vote for, that's our job, is to let people know. It's less endorsing and more informing, I think. And that's what's great about it. So kudos to you for doing this, because that's what people need. They need to know the information, right?
very important. That's what we believe. And we're so fortunate. I'm sure that, there's many out there who can agree, but we feel we have such a talented staff. So, this exact format of a candidates forum fell together because our editor is amazing. She's done so many things, and this is her thing. We have people, and also on our Facebook Live, sometimes we have different employees here. We'll sit in on different advertisers because they're able to make a connection, and I get a break, and so we've been able to. We have a great team, and it takes a team to do all of these things. So when you have that and you're able to kind of share the resources like that, it's amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. I've noticed that. Oh, I didn't want to look at that, but on your Facebook Live, I have noticed you bring on people on staff. Like I saw you had a hairdresser on one time. Like, would you bring someone on that's like a customer? Is that the idea behind that? So then they can like personally talk about the haircut that they got or something along those lines? Or how do you go about choosing?
It's just interesting. The different connections we make. It may be we're always trying to help other businesses. So a lot of it did come naturally from the fact that we were in the pandemic, and we sort of started reaching out to different ones who were coming back, and just sort of those conversations were developing. It just depends on, or maybe what's happening in our community at the time. So we did have the Peanut Festival on the week of that event. That made a lot of sense. So, we work with them. It's a community involvement. So we're engaged with our community. It was great to have that organization on. It was a great conversation too. They make good conversations. A lot of them do happen to be businesses. And usually there is a connection with that business in terms of advertising, whether it be, so we are trying to be careful how we approach it, and that we're taking care of our advertisers at all times, so because it's a platform. So like we were able to have someone on a second time. They went ahead and had a sponsorship, so there was a little bit of that activity has to be there. And then when it comes to organizations, it's those we're working with, we have connections with, and all of these I've seen just greatly building our connections with the community through these conversations with these businesses. And then, it's just like anytime, everybody's got a great story. You can just talk to, I'm always like, I'll be fascinated talking to somebody out in the community and be like, God, we need to write about you. The stories of people in our community are so much fun. And that's how I think these conversations have gone, but always trying to steer towards our businesses, our business community. And then, the challenge in that too is sometimes people they don't pan out. They end up not being able to make it. So, we got to shift and come up with a topic and maybe talk about ourselves here and there, and do some different things. Those have been the challenges, but for the most part, it's it's sort of functioning more like a clock now, a little bit better.
Right on. Awesome. A lot of good points there, yeah, and I can definitely attest to that too. Ever since I started doing more virtual conferences, I've gotten closer with you guys as publishers and editors, and just feeling, I don't know, just the conversations that come out that you don't necessarily expect when you go in with a phone call, and like with a sales pitch, when it's just kind of like these free form discussions, they're very fruitful. So. I was going to talk a little bit about that, but we're pretty much out of time. I just want to mention something that we're talking about with the Wave. So I think long-term, Mark, we've been talking about possibly, because we use the GoToWebinar format, inviting subscribers on as attendees, right? So that's another opportunity here that you wouldn't really be able to do with Facebook Live. So that's just the pros and cons, because Facebook, it's pretty much anyone can wander in there and start asking questions. But if you're using something like GoToWebinar or Zoom Webinar, then you can invite just your paying subscribers to the live presentation and then record it and then release it to the public after. and it's not something that we've actually done yet, but I just think that's a real opportunity for newspapers to offer something extra to their paying subscribers.
Well, I think it's important. If you've ever been, Kristen, is your paper, is it free, or is it paid, or do you have a paywall?
Paid paywall, yep.
Right. So, you face the same challenges that we do. People, they want everything for free, and look, we would love to do it, but it's just not possible. You have to pay people, journalists, there's a great, I think, Joe Shaw from the Southampton Press. He's their executive editor here out on the East Coast.
Uh-huh.
And he did this fascinating thread one day on Facebook. I'll send it to you, Kristen. And it was all about somebody complaining that the news wasn't free.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a person who was a subscriber, but he was complaining about having to pay for a subscription. So this thread was just brilliant about how, and I stole every talking point, by the way. I told Joe that I did. But one of the writers just plainly put this sentence where he said, it's sad that you don't think that my work is worth 50 cents a week, or something along those lines, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I try to tell people, it's like, do you want the advertisers to control all the content, or do you as a subscriber want to make sure that the news is independent and free of, all this other stuff that everybody complains about with fake news and things like that? And I just think it's really important to give the subscribers, the people that support your paper, the opportunity to be involved in the process, be involved in the editorial. We have an editorial advisory board where we have people, 10 to 15 people. We get together once a month and we talk about the paper. What are we doing? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What are we missing? Is there something we're not getting right? And it's so important to get that subscriber involvement, because then they feel special because they're getting access that not every Tom, Dick, and Harry is getting.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so that's what I want to end on, is just this, I call it weekly office hours concept. It's really, Mark's doing it already with Rockaway Fridays with the Wave, where he sits down in front of a webcam and hosts this walkthrough of the paper. But I mean, if you're using GoToWebinar or one of these private streaming programs, it would allow you to discuss the top news of the paper. You could share your website with screen share, promote upcoming events, give shout outs to advertisers. But I think the most important thing about this is that you can privately invite the paying subscribers to actually participate in the live chat. And that way, you can feel good about putting that video out there for free, and not having the final video behind a paywall, because we want to get that out there to as many people as possible. But we still create this premium experience for the paying subscribers, which is the ability to ask questions as you're talking. So that's kind of what we're doing right here today. A lot of this focus has been on the questions, and that has driven a lot of the conversation. So I just want to throw this out there because the Wave is the first paper to take me up on this idea, and we're developing this concept. But if there's anyone out there that's interested in this, we can work with you and help you produce this with our GoToWebinar program. And, then there's all kinds of things you can do with that media. I mean, once you have a video, it's very simple to export the audio as a podcast. You upload the video to YouTube and you can export a transcript, and now you've got an article for your website or your print edition. I just think this multi-dimensional approach of starting with video and then distilling it down into different, all these different multimedia forms is very powerful, and you get screenshots from the video, which are images for the story in print or on your website, and then you can reverse publish from the website to print. I mean, that would be like the full thing. So, just kind of bringing together all these different platforms into one place. So anything else, any other comments, parting comments from Mark or Kristen, or does anyone else have any other questions for these two folks? Thank you both so much for taking the time to join me today. This was really fun. It was everything that I had hoped it would be, and you guys did a great job explaining your programs. Just to wrap it up here, we've got these virtual conferences coming up. I mentioned the audio podcast one, getting started in audio. That's going to be in 2 weeks at noon. Then we're going to have one on growing your digital subscriber base, Friday the 13th at noon. Whoops, I didn't even realize that. And then Illinois Press Association, that's going to be, we're presenting on December 3rd. So anyone that's in Illinois Press, I think we had a couple people join us from the last one. We'll be presenting a lot of different things during that session. Okay, and just really quick, for anyone that's not in our hometown customer already, I hope you'll take a look at what we do. We're a family business founded in upstate New York in 1997. We manage hundreds of newspaper websites and native apps all across North America. We're hosted on Amazon Web Services. We integrate with Adobe InDesign, Google Docs. Of course, we've got the iOS and Android apps. And our number one priority is customer support. And that's really what these webinars are all about, is getting our customers together to strategize beyond just like, how do I upload an ad on my website, but like, how do I develop a strategy for digital for my newspaper for the next 10, 15, 20 years? That's, what we're trying to focus on with these things. We've got a PDF to HTML conversion service, and we have these at least monthly virtual conferences and weekly office hours. So we're all about the customer support. If anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd love to talk to you and give you a demo of what we could do for your paper on WordPress. All right. Thank you again, Mark and Kristen, for staying over time. Again, I appreciate your time very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Nice to meet you, Kristen.
And you.
Awesome. All right. So we'll end it here. Thank you all very much. I'll leave the webinar going for a little bit, but you guys can just exit and stop sharing your screen whenever you want. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you all so much. Take care. Bye now.